So my strategy for finding off-market properties is something that I've been refining over the years. Regardless of whether or not my exit strategy is going to be a flip or a rent, the first thing I always have to do is define my target market. Once my target market is defined, then I look at those motivating factors that would potentially lead to a successful deal. And now the more motivating factors that a house has, the more likely you are to potentially find a deal. So motivating factors are things that would make a seller want to sell. For instance, is that seller out of state? Or are they in state but non-owner occupant? Is it an owner occupant but they've owned the house for more than 20 years? Are there building violations against the property, particularly unsafe violations? Was the house inherited? Is this a house in a state? Did somebody just die? These are all things that you can look for. So then once I have my target market, and then I have, I've looked at which motivating factors I think will work, I'll then pull a list. So if I'm looking at flips, I'm looking to pull a larger list and then filter all that down. So generally with flips, I'm looking at a certain neighborhood or a certain zip code, because all of the properties within that zip code typically will be within the same ARV, or that certain area will be within that same ARV. So I'm just trying to find potential sellers that I can negotiate down to a purchase price that I need to make it a successful deal. So I'm pulling from a wider range and then filtering it down based on those motivating factors. And then, like I said, the more motivating factors a property has, the better potential deal. And then rentals, you can do the same with rentals. However, what I do with rentals, because I'm much more picky with my rentals, I narrow it down. So I narrow my target markets down to only attributes in an area that I like. So for instance, I may only want to be on a commercial corridor in a neighborhood. I may only want to be by a transportation hub in the corridor. So what I'll do is I'll write down the names of the streets where I want to be, and then also what 100 blocks I want to be. And then from there, I'll build a list of every house that is within those 100 blocks for those street names. And then that's the list that I'll use. And I'll contact, I don't filter that down at all. I'll send that out. I'll contact every single person on that list. So now that I have my lists, or even pulling the list. So for instance, if it's rentals, so that list I have to specifically pull, or get somebody to pull for me. So as I talked about, I'll write down the 100 blocks of the street names where I want to be. Then I'll send that to a virtual assistant. And then I set up a system for them, wrote out specific directions on how they are to then go about finding the address and all the information that we'll need for every single property that meets that criteria, which is on that 100 block of that street name. And then from there, they'll send me back that list. And then from there, I'll send that information to my mail house. And then they'll get all of the papers, all of the letters in order, and then they'll send that out. Or if I'm not sending out letters and I want to do personal calls, I can do that as well.